In my experience, when Jews talk about prayer, they almost immediately turn it into a theological discussion. Does God exist? Does God answer prayer? In Making Prayer Real, we don't focus on God ideas. It's about God moments. I waited a long time for someone else to write a book like Making Prayer Real. I didn't think I should do it because I struggled so much with prayer. I'm one of those people who used to go to services for every reason other than the one you're supposedly there for, to talk to God. I had to travel a long, hard road to figure out how to get something out of my prayer life. But that's why I have something to say in this book. And early on, I realized that I could use some help. So I started to interview people, and I didn't stop till I'd interviewed over 50 soulful Jews on their prayer lives. I had no idea how productive that would be. It was amazing. I was bowled over by how personal and honest the contributors were. It's refreshing. I asked, why don't Jews come to synagogue? And there was just no way I could have expected to hear what I heard. I mean, there were comments that were downright brutal. That is actually one of the things that readers tell me they like about the book. They're relieved to find out that rabbis really do know what's going on. Making Prayer Real came out so different than I envisioned it. I pitched a straightforward, here's the problem, how to solve it kind of book. But then after conducting the interviews that were so rich, I thought, do I have to switch over to an anthology? But somehow the quotes just integrate into the narrative seamlessly. The manuscript came in 10,000 words over, so with trepidation I went to Jewish Lights and said, don't worry, we'll cut it, just help me figure out what to cut. So Stuart Matlins, my publisher, read the manuscript and he came back and said, don't cut a word. And we didn't. Lots of people have good experiences with prayer, and it happens for all of us, at least occasionally. So my claim is that if you can figure out what is happening when prayer works for you, and then learn how to make that happen, rather than wait for that to happen, you have a pretty good idea of how to pray well. That's what I went after in the book. To give prayer a chance, most of us need a reason to make the effort. So the first chapter addresses that. There are 5 short essays on why pray. And the feedback is good. That chapter has a strong impact on readers. The book continues with the emotional, effective foundations of prayer and moves on to the various techniques that people use to pray well. Then we apply prayer to different situations in life. And finally, we discuss how to get the most out of traditional Jewish prayer. The book concludes with practices to jumpstart and deepen a person's prayer life. What's easier, to put heart into your own words or to put heart into someone else's words? Well, generally speaking, your own words, right? But if you were like me growing up, you only learned how to pray someone else's words, the liturgy, the Siddur. So no wonder it was hard to learn how to pray. We were only taught the harder, more difficult paradigm. That's a lesson I take to heart in the book. We start with personal prayer. Only in the last part do we get to the Siddur, to liturgy. And by then, the Siddur is really a different book. If you know how to pray by yourself, you get a whole lot more out of prayer with the community. The book is about half quotes from the interviews, which makes it very readable, and people love it. You can randomly open most any page and you'll find something moving. There are 2 chapters that are entirely devoted to advice for beginners, practical advice on how to pray in your own voice and how to pray the liturgy. There's a chapter on how to cope with Hebrew. It's easier than people think if you approach it right. A huge problem for many people today is, how do I pray if I don't believe in a personal God, in a rewarding and punishing God? If there's no reward and punishment, why should I pray at all? And how do I follow the liturgy? How do I address God as a person if I don't actually think God is a person? Hard questions, questions we take up in the book. Some of the most important moments of prayer don't take place in the synagogue, like in the hospital or the cemetery. We devote a chapter to prayer and coping with loss. And another chapter is on tshuva. How can prayer help me to change? I learned a ton in writing this book. I'm so grateful to the contributors. The feedback from readers is really moving. It's been a profound chapter in my life. And it's still being written.